Tennis is the popular sport. Tennis is probably in actuality, tennis is probably the most popular sport in the world. Here's the thing though, and here in the United States, it is not. It is by far the most popular sport. And we're talking about kids, juniors, anyone under the age of 18. And here's the thing. When they say that tennis is the most popular sport, the reason for that could be because we're talking about anyone can play, adults, and there's so many adults in the world that can pick up tennis and use it as a sport to get fit, to stay in shape, to have fun, etc. So it's much easier. It's much more likely the way tennis is set up right now that people are gonna pick up tennis over soccer or basketball, especially basketball or football or baseball, and especially amongst the masses of people too, because people that aren't very athletic, that aren't very coordinated, they usually pick up tennis. Ironically, that's probably like the hardest sport, but you can make it so that they can play. So in that sense, it's very popular. But amongst kids, let me get to my main point in this video. Kids are where the money's at. Kids are where the money's at in tennis. And here's the thing. Football in my country, in the United States, American football, basketball, and baseball are the kings. Okay? They rule everything. Let me repeat that. American football, not soccer, baseball, and basketball. And all you gotta do is watch SportsCenter. And I grew up watching SportsCenter. And all you gotta do is put on SportsCenter every day, and that's what you see. You see baseball, basketball, and football, and hockey. And really, those sports are they're on all year long. You think, well, tennis is on all year long too. Well, if you break it down, like let's say football has 4 months, basketball has 4 months, baseball has 4 months approximately, and hockey, etc. And that makes a year, 4 months each. And I know they overlap and things like that, but tennis also has 4 months. Because the way the populace looks at tennis is, if they're going to even look at it at all, is the Grand Slams. So you have 2 weeks of U.S. Open, 2 weeks of French, 2 weeks of Wimbledon, and 2 weeks of Australia. So that's 2 months right there. And then you also can throw in Indian Wells and Miami. Maybe a couple other events, which comes out to around 3 or 4 months, and that's your tennis basically. But here also, now I want to get into the TV problem, because I talked about SportsCenter, and this is the reason why tennis is not the most popular sport. This is one of the main reasons, because it's not on television. Here where I am, let me just say this: the French Open coverage is non-existent. You cannot, from my memory, you cannot watch tennis on cable during the French Open unless you have the Tennis Channel or something like that. But it's not on the main channels. Australia used to be on from 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. or 7 a.m. all night. Now they pushed it back. It doesn't start until 9. Sometimes it doesn't start till 11 on the main, I think it's like ESPN2. And it's on at night. So, I don't know if it used to be on like at night. They used to be on all day, but not anymore. I mean, they got pickleball on over this stuff. They got bowling on over this stuff. And then you have the U.S. Open, which is the one that's going to have everything on. And Wimbledon. I don't even know if Wimbledon might be on, but it's still probably cut short nowadays. They never show qualifying. And here's the other thing. You can't, in my area, I remember one of my coaches, or one of the guys who used to go to his clinics, he had a petition, and he used this petition to try to get the Tennis Channel in our area, because you had to pay extra for the Tennis Channel, and I didn't understand why he was doing that. But the real reason why he was doing that, it's not because he's a great guy. It's because he knew his business would blow up. He knew his business would be more secure. He had a good business already, but he knew it could get better if the Tennis Channel was included in cable. But here you have to pay extra for it. It's not included in cable. And that's important because the Tennis Channel is 24/7, and these other sports are 24/7. Now, I grew up watching these sports and playing these sports, and I didn't even think about tennis. And the reason is, you just look at me. Why do I love tennis so much more later? Than it's not like at 10 years old I wouldn't have loved it too. I didn't even know it existed. So, and this isn't going to change, by the way. The tennis channel might be in your area. It still doesn't matter. It's not on SportsCenter daily. It's not talked about daily. It's very misunderstood. But also the thing is from like a local community. Most of the communities, they have parents involved in their sports, like take football, baseball, especially football and baseball. Parents are involved. All the kids are playing these sports, even if they don't want to. They play anyway. And there's no lessons at first. The structure is these team sports. And tennis could be that way too, but the people wouldn't go for it. Let's just say, like, we're talking about 70% of the population that includes baseball, basketball, football. And hockey, if you ask them to do it, they wouldn't do it because and let me get down to the main part. The people that play tennis, there's a couple different people that play tennis. One, or amongst the kids, their parents played tennis. That's the main group. Their parents played serious competitive tennis, high school tennis, something like that. The other group is especially talking about the U.S. and where I'm at, they're foreigners. Foreigners in the United States, they're foreigners. They were born, the parents were born in other countries. This is, if you go to a tennis tournament, especially, like I was just at a couple tournaments, at least 50% of the kids' parents are foreigners, meaning they were born in another country or they speak another language. Definitely their grandparents. And that's not the case. That's not the case when it comes to baseball, basketball, football. Because if you don't have those two things, if your parent didn't play tennis and your parent isn't a foreigner to this country, then you go to the TV. You go to the TV and you go to your friends because you have to be the one to initiate it. Hey, mom and dad, I want to play this sport. Let's go check it out. And here's the other thing. When they do that, if they do that, and they go check it out, what do they get? They get the fancy tennis club, the fancy country club that scares the hell out of them. And it's not that it just scares, when I say scares the hell out of them, I mean the class system scares them. They're not used to being around those types of people. They're afraid of it. They actually think that they're different, etc., etc. And if that doesn't scare them, then it's the money. They're like, whoa, $50 for a lesson? These people, even if you tell them $30, you join the baseball team, what are we talking about, $75 for a season? You got to get a glove, maybe skip on the bat, get a cheap glove. You got to take them to practice, etc. It's not that much money. But then tennis, you're talking about a racket, strings, that scares them. They don't understand it. Lessons, $30 for an hour for a week. So if you do 2 months, you only go once a week for $240 for just an hour and no game. It confuses them. And don't get me started on junior team tennis. What a joke. That's not the solution, junior team tennis. I mean, it might be a good idea, but it's not going to come from the USTA. It's not going to happen. And for anyone out there that might be watching this, like, well, why don't you, if you think that I'm complaining, why don't you go start your own? I mean, watch my channel, okay? I'm the last person that you're going to tell to go start their own stuff, all right? Because that's not the problem. I'm not the problem.